So working efficiently in Lightroom. I am using Lightroom CC, but everything that I'm going to do tonight applies to Lightroom 5, 4, even 3. So don't worry if you don't have the same exact version I do. It'll be okay. So the first thing I want to do is work with brushes, okay? And the reason I love using brushes as my go-to when I first start editing is because I can edit with brushes, and then if I want to apply presets, the presets don't overwrite the brushes. They're there. Whereas a lot of times brushes, if we do some global edits, so all these panels right here, those are going to be global edits. And the edits we make with a grad filter, radial filter, graduated filter, hope I said that right. Brush, adjustment brush. If I called that graduate filter, I'm sorry. Adjustment brush, radial filter, graduate filter, even the red eye and the clone. Any global presets won't most global presets are not going to overwrite that. You might have some trouble with graduate filter and radial filters, but never with the brush. Okay, you won't have any trouble with that. So the brush changes we make are going to stay put with our pictures. Okay, just a little tidbit. If you're having trouble with the audio, it's most likely a problem on your end. Maybe something else is streaming, taking up space, pulling the bandwidth, like Netflix or something like that. I know because my kids watch it. I'm at my husband's office. I'm the only one here, and I have super duper internet speed, and so likely it's on your end, either with your internet provider or your computer or the house, and what else is pulling. So kind of check there. But we are recording this tonight. Okay, so I've got this beautiful picture. I mean, it really is lovely. I love the colors. And we're going to just use brushes to make this look as good as it can be, but still look like it came out of the camera. So we're going to give it a clean edit with brushes. At the end, I'll show you how to install brushes. So I know that some people may be coming in here thinking, I bought brushes and I can't even get them installed. So I'm going to show how to do that. Once you've installed them, you find them by clicking on the brush icon. And the brush icon in Lightroom 5 and 6 looks like or CC, it looks like a microphone to me. And in Lightroom 3 and 4, it really looks more like almost like a paintbrush in a way. So it's the same thing, just a different icon. So once you click on that, let's say something shows up like exposure or clarity. Some setting is right here. It's to the right of the word effect. So click on whatever is there, and that is where the brushes will show up after you have installed them. So I'm going to get started I'm going to brighten her up just a little bit. Okay, and I'm just going to do a little add light. Now some of the brushes can be kind of strong, so I'll start lower. I'll kind of lower the opacity. If you're familiar with Photoshop, this is the one time that we have some control with opacity, and it's using the flow slider. So it's going to control how much kind of lays down when we swipe over it with our mouse. So I lowered the flow down to about 50%. Make my brush bigger. The brush is this circle. See me moving around? It's that circle. And you can make the brush bigger or smaller in different ways. You can affect the size down here in the brush panel, or you can use the bracket keys on your keyboard. You find those by looking for the letter P. So if you look at the letter P on your keyboard and then go to the right, and we have a right and left bracket key. The right bracket key makes it bigger. The left bracket key makes it smaller. Now, one more way you can do it, if you have a mouse with a scroll wheel, if you pull back towards you, it gets smaller. Push away from you, and it gets bigger. That might be reversed on your mouse. It just depends on the mouse. Now I want to say this because so often when I've helped people in the past, when I used to do one-on-ones for Photoshop and Photoshop Elements, they would try and use a little bitty brush, and they would have to do a lot of brushing. make your brush appropriate for your task. So here I'm just going to brighten up her face a little bit, and I got a lot of surface to cover, so I'm going to make a bigger brush. And I'm going to click and just drag around. Okay, the more I click and start back, so I clicked and I brushed around, I let up, and now if I click and start again, it's going to keep adding to it. So even though I lowered the flow, I can keep adding to it. It's cumulative. All right. And I like using that because if it's too strong, one swipe might be all I need. But then if I decide, no, I need a little bit more, then I can always click and swipe again and keep going. So I like reducing the flow some, and it gives me that flexibility. So I brightened her up a little bit. Before I go too much further, for those who are brand new to brushes, I want to show you here this feather. So you see I have two circles. I have an inner circle and an outer circle. And this feather, but watch what happens as I bring the feather down. See, the circles have gotten closer together. And what that feather means is how much the change is going to feather out. Gonna just gradually taper off. So with this one, it's not going to taper off much at all. So it's going to be a much harder definition of where it starts and stops. I'm going to add a significant change to show that. So I'm going to really brighten things up here. And a much more defined start and stop, isn't it? It's almost precise. There is a little bit of blurriness in there. I'll do another one here. There, it's definite. I mean, it's cookie cutter almost. You can see exactly where it starts, exactly where it stops. Now, if I increase the feather, let's go to 100. See how much more it blends in? And when you're doing portrait editing, a lot of times you want a high feather. There are times you want a lower feather, like if you're getting in close and you're whitening the teeth and the eyes, you may want that feather to be smaller so it doesn't bleed into the lips or gums or the iris and pupil, but mostly you're going to want that feather to be a fairly decent size. Okay, so let's do new. I always click new in between my brushes, and what that tells Lightroom is saying, hey, I'm done with this particular spot and this particular brush, and I'm going to start with something else. And notice that now my pen is this grayish white color, right? Before, when I was using it, it was black with a white rim around it. See, the inner is black and it's white on the outside. That means it's still active. Okay, it's still an active brush. Now watch what happens when I click new. So now it's this silver whitish. It's going to, with some Lightrooms, it's whiter than others. You might be thinking, Amanda, I can't even see my pens. So how are you getting yours to show up? And that's a good question. Down here, below the picture, there's this dark gray strip. And on the far left corner, we have Show Edit Pins. And mine is on Auto. Yours might be on Never, and it could just be accidentally set that way. When I first started using Lightroom, oh my gosh, I had so many things all backwards, and I'd lose this, and I'd lose my toolbar and all this stuff because I would click and not realizing what I was doing. So you may have clicked Never for some reason or accidentally, and now your pins are not showing up. So, my mouse is in the picture, but my pen is not showing up, is it? Whoops. I can click always, so they always show. Even if I'm over here doing something else, my pen is showing. And I generally, because a lot of times I have lots of pens, I like it to be on auto. Whoops, sorry there. And that way it shows when my mouse is in the picture, but as I move over to the right side of Lightroom or even to the left side, they disappear. They only show up when my mouse is in there. Okay, so I've clicked new. So I could create a new pen, and this time I am going to do, let's say, let's whiten her eyes. Whiten. Now I'm going to zoom in. You can zoom in by doing Command+. Now, I'm not in the right area, am I? if I just hold down my space bar and click, so see the hand come up when I click my space bar? So now I'm going to click and drag. I can get to the whites of her eyes. And I'm going to reduce the flow. And here we might even reduce the feather a little bit. And the reason I reduce the flow is because you don't want the eyes to be too white. Then they look a little alienish. And it's not a good thing. And it is very easy to get carried away, and your whites of the eyes end up too white, and the teeth end up too white. You got glowing teeth. So moderation is the key here. Moderation. A little change at a time. You can always go back and add more, but you don't want to go too far. Okay, so I've done that. Now I'm going to click New. Always click New in between your brushes. And then I'm going to do Eyes Blue. And this just adds a little more color. If you want to just bump up the color a little bit, this will be a good way to do it. A little bluer. I'm going to click New again, and I'm now going to do the catch lights. I'm using brushes from the Perfect Portrait brush collection, and I'm just brushing over the catch lights. Clicking New in between. Now maybe I'll do something like eyeliner. And not that she needs that, really. I'm just going to illustrate how you can just darken the lashes a little bit around the lash line. My Mac has decided to act like it's going to take off. Okay. We can also do eyes sharpen. I'm going to lower the flow because I don't want to get them too outer worldly looking. Okay. So I'm going to show a before and after of just the brushes by coming down in the brush panel at the bottom left-hand corner of the brush panel. There is a on-off switch. So right now the white up top is telling us that it's visible. All the brushes are visible. And if I click it down and the white goes down below, it's turned them off. So there the brushes are inactive. So there's a before and there's an after. You can also, I will say this, sometimes I've had to do this for editing some women, and they needed their eyebrows kind of filled in a little bit, and you can do that with the liner as well. And I've got this reduced down, but just kind of brushing over that. I'm just giving her a little bit. There's before and after. And now I'm going to do, not done yet, oops, make sure I click New. I'm just a new clicker, I like to do that. And I'm going to do under eye circles. I'm going to zoom in, make my brush, just do the flow, and just do one swipe, maybe another. Now, if it doesn't have as much effect as you need, like you need it to be stronger, you can always click New and do it again, and it's going to apply it like it, brand new again. And the next thing I'm going to do is smooth the skin just a little bit. Now I'm going to show my lazy way out of doing this one. And I'll make my brush fairly big, and then I will just click and drag over the whole area. All right, so I get it all. Now with skin smoothing, what it's doing is it's blurring, and so we don't want the eyes to be blurry, do we? So I'm going to use the erase brush. Now before I do that, I'm going to show you that my mask overlay has not been showing, and what that means is the overlay of where I brushed. So this red area, all it does is show me where my mouse swiped over. And if it gets in your way and you don't want to see that, you can uncheck the box down here at the bottom. Also, what if you're not seeing this toolbar down here? So you're not seeing the area for the pins, or you're not seeing the area for the mask overlay. Go up to View, and it's going to say Show Toolbar. So I'm going to hide mine. See, it's gone, so I'm not seeing it. And I'll go back up to View and Show Toolbar. That's a problem a lot of people have. Now, so it's showing everywhere I brushed. I'm going to come over here to the brush panel again, and I'm going to click on the Erase brush. And my settings are the same. I can have a feather and a flow. So I want 100% because I want to erase all of it in the areas that I brush over. So I want to erase all of it here because I want her eyes to be nice and sharp. Now you have to be careful not to click over a pin because then it's going to activate that pin. All right. So that what I did was I just erased it. So I removed the skin smoothing from the areas that you can now see through. And where it is going to stay is where it's red. We can also, if you want to do a lot even more with the brush, you can use the darkening brush to darken area around her. You can even do some stuff with the hair if you would like to maybe add some highlights, add some contrast. It just depends on the look that you're going for. If you have some color cast, then we have like a cast correction brush for blue, greens, reds, and yellows. Really don't need anything on her, so we'll be done here. And we can see there's before the brushes, there's after the brushes. And just gives us a good little clean edit, making the picture look as good as it can be, but still looks like it came out of the camera that way. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit. Grad filters. This up here is our grad filter icon. And when you click on it, the panel looks very much like the brush panel. You just don't have the brush options down here at the bottom. So when you click in, you'll notice that any brushes you've installed are listed here as well, not just graduated filters. So if you have, say, something that's like add warmth, you can always use that here as a graduated filter. So I can click and just drag in, and it's going to gradually warm up the picture. Graduated filters are strongest at the initial point, and then as you drag across, it's going to taper off. Hence the graduated term. It's going to gradually go from strong to non-existent. It's going to just go to nothing. We can add a little bit of light if we wanted to. And they work like pins. They work with pins just as the brushes do. Okay? So, oops, I could do one that is depth and drama. Maybe I like that one too. And I'm going to click and drag in here. So it just intensifies colors and darkens. What's new in Lightroom 6 that Lightroom CC that Lightroom 3, 4, and 5 didn't have is the ability to remove some of that off of an area of the picture. Okay, so if you added like blue skies and you brought it down and it made somebody's face look blue, well, now we can erase it. Oops. So here we're seeing how it's strongest and it's tapering off, but now I can erase it off of her face altogether. I'm going to do new, and maybe I'll do the same side. Drag this out. I can even do it again over here. So there's a before and after, just with some brushes and graduated filters. I'm going to edit another picture here in a minute, but I want to show you something else that helps work efficiently in Lightroom, and that's the snapshot. It's over here on the left-hand side, and it's right above your history. So our history panel shows everything that you've ever done to this picture in Lightroom. I mean, it stays forever. Even if you close Lightroom and you open it back up a month from now, this history is going to stay there. The snapshot is right above it, and so many people miss it because it's empty right now, and no amount of editing is going to add anything to that area until we create a snapshot for it to store right there. And you can create a snapshot by clicking the little plus sign. So I can do clean, edit, brushes, and grad filters. All right. So I named my snapshot. You don't have to name it, and it'll just be like a point in time. The shortcut for this is Command N or Control N on a PC, N as in Nancy. So Command N will create a snapshot. So that's just a moment in time, and you can export from this point. If I decided to do some, let's come up here, and let's say I decide to and my preview is not working. See how it's stuck? Usually you can preview your things. There we go. I'm going through the luminance. All right, so maybe I want, there we go. That is the creamy sun flare left. So if I wanted to add that, I could do it and do another snapshot and do clean and creamy sun flare left. I like to name what I've done to it so I don't have to guess. You know, a month from now, I'm like, which one did I use? Or I don't have to look back through the history. Okay, now I am going to illustrate a little bit of the tone curve panel. We're going to do the brushes and grad filters again. I'm going to add a little bit to it this time with the tone curve. All right, so this is the picture straight out of the camera. Very, very sweet. And we have a little sun flare right here at the bottom. We got the haze and backlighting. Now, you can come to tone curve, and you might see some different views. All right, you might be seeing this view, okay, where you see channel and RGB, linear. You can choose medium contrast, strong contrast. If you click back on this little curve icon, then it's going to take you where you can still do a curve down here, but you can also manipulate the different areas with sliders if that is easier for you. So those highlights are the lightest area of our image. So if I brighten those up, well, you don't hardly notice it because it's already clipped, I'm sure. Lights, so it's going to add a little bit of haze to that. Darken, we can lighten the dark areas or we can darken those dark areas. Shadows, we can lighten those shadows, or we can darken those shadows. Kind of like that. Okay. And with tone curve, you can also turn it on and off. So there's before it, and there's after. I like that it just gives us a little bit better view of her. It's not a silhouette so much because she has a very dark area behind her, but now we get more of that backlighting. We can also see her a little bit better. Like she is more the focus of the picture than before. I mean, she was the focus before, but it was just, you know, pretty much flat. And now the image has some more definition to it, more depth. I love that. And I think I used the creamy bokeh on this one. I thought it was pretty. You can also do That would work better. Creamy sunflower left. Come over like that. I think I like the bokeh one better. And this was Luminous that just came out. I thought that was pretty. The way to edit those Luminous, if something like, I don't know that I want these big ones right here, so I would click on the radial filter, move in, and oh, we got all these pins. So I'm just going to click and see which pin might be my problem. And I'm just going to move that one back a little bit. There we go. I like that. And you can also reduce the amounts. If they're too strong, then, oh, come in here. Should have clicked done. If you want them to be, a little bit lighter, you can come in and just reduce the amount so it won't be as strong. All right. Okay, let's do Tone Curve again with this little girl. So the basics of Tone Curve, it does work very much like curves in Photoshop. So if you're familiar with curves in Photoshop, it works like that as well. So I can come in here and grab it. When I move into the area there, I have a little crosshair, and if I pull up, click and pull up, then it's going to lighten that area. The top section is the brightest part of your image, those brightest whites. And then this next section are the lights, they call it, or whites. And then down here we have our shadows, and then we have our blacks, or the darkest area of our image. And what you'll often hear is this S pop, this S curve pop. And it is what it says, an S. So we're going to create a very slight S, by clicking and dragging somewhere at the, I don't know, 3/4 the way up. Click and drag up a little bit. See, I'm brightening it. And then come down here to about 1/4 the way up and click and just drag down a little bit. Drag down. Now I don't want to add too much contrast. I'll brighten this back up a little bit. That might have been too much. Let's see. So before and after. And until you get the hang of it, you can always come down here where it says point curve and just choose one. So medium contrast, which was too dark. This picture's a little underexposed, isn't it? And strong contrast. And if it gets you to a point, you're like, well, I like the contrast that it did, but it's too dark. You can always go in and edit it. You're not confined to what it says, okay? You can come change it. Now, if doing that is frustrating, because sometimes you have to hold your mouth just right, then you can click on that little curve icon in the bottom right-hand corner and come and use the sliders. So I might say, I want to brighten this picture up some. See what it did to the curve? It really, maybe too much, didn't it? So what I might need to do is brighten actually need to brighten the shadows is what I want to do. And a little bit of that. Maybe even a little of that. Before and after. Much of what you can do with Tone Curve, you can do with, I'm going to turn it off and come into the basic. You can do with exposure and the blacks down here. Okay, so we can add in contrast, turn that off, by decreasing those blacks or moving it to the left. We're not really decreasing the blacks, but when we move the slider to the left, we're actually increasing that darker area. We can brighten up our shadow area, brighten up the overall exposure. So that may work better. Tone Curve can take some getting used to. It really can. Let me come back and just reset it. A lot of times I'll just click and drag up a little bit, get what I need. And it's telling you, see, as I move in, we got darks, lights, highlights. Can you see right here the word? All right. Tone curve is great for when you need to add more contrast. So here we've got strong contrast, but it's too dark. So what I ended up doing is going to exposure and brightening it up a little bit. So I get my contrast that I like, but I'll brighten up the picture this way. Okay, so we'll revisit that in a little bit. I am going to can't decide what to do with her. I can use some brushes and stuff on her. Let's do that. We'll edit her really quickly. And I'm going to do under eye circle reducer. And it's a little red, so I may end up using the red cast one because she's got some redness there under her eyes. And like she actually looks a little dirty right there, like she was rubbing her eyes. Maybe the mascara had bothered her. Do new, and I'm going to do that red. Fix Red's cast. Fix cast red. So I'm going to do. All right, turn the mask off so you can see what I'm doing. See the effect it has. I may actually use it a little bit right here. And the picture itself is a little cool. She's just a little cool. So instead of warming up the whole picture, which I may try and do that, I could use a brush and warm her up that way. And skin, I'm going to do just a little bit. Just warm her up just a little bit. And I'm going to just keep using the brushes. Those brushes are so handy. And it allows you not to have to take the picture to Photoshop. And what we have heard from people is that they spend a lot of time. They'll bring pictures into Lightroom, and then they will do some editing, and then they'll take their picture over to Lightroom or to Photoshop to do the portrait editing, brushes and skin and fixing casts and things like that. And they really can stay in Lightroom for that. They don't have to go over to Photoshop. The brushes is what really revolutionized my Lightroom experience. And I did not have to go to Photoshop as much. Okay. And one more. I'm going to just brighten her eyes up a little bit, or the catch lights. Her eyes are so blue. It's amazing. That is incredible. Okay. So for her, there's the before after. And we used a little bit of tone. We did use Tone Curve for contrast, and then I brightened up the overall picture a little bit with exposure. But that was it, and shadows. So I brightened up the shadows, brighten up the overall exposure, and I use the brushes. There's the before and after. Do a snapshot, Command N or Control N, clean edit. Then if I wanted to use a preset, I could do that as well. All right. Okay. We've got time. I'll try and make sure that I'm trying to get better about doing multiple pictures so you don't see me spend the whole time on just one picture. I did that one. Okay. How I'm getting the before and after so quickly is I hit Y on my keyboard. Okay, Y on my keyboard. So now I just have the the before and the after. I haven't done anything to it. And how I get rid of the sidebar so quickly is I hit the Tab key on my keyboard. So Tab brings my sidebars back, and Tab moves my sidebars or drops them, collapses them. With her, what I think is important with her is because it's either a reflector or a flash here in the distance. I think it's a flash. But we still have catch lights, and I'd like to bring out those catch lights so that we don't have that pin light of a flash. And I'm going to use the brushes for that. Catch lights, got it? And I'm going to bring out those catch lights. Let me even do it again. New between them, I'm going to do eyeliner and just give her a little darkening of this eye area right here. That's the eyeliner one. Actually may darken that a little bit. And click new. All right. So we're going to see so far it's before and after. I'm just going to do a few more. Let's do under eye circles. Again, I'm using the Perfect Portrait mostly. I'm going to show the graduated filter toolbox here in a minute. And I'm going to do Fixed Threads Cast. This Perfect Portrait has like everything you need in it. It is a toolbox in itself. Just a little redness here and there. I'm going to try this tone and even. The skin tone and even, sometimes you need to do it twice, and it's subtle, so I don't reduce the flow. I'm going to turn on the mask so I can see where I'm going. Making my brush bigger or smaller with my keyboard. I hope y'all cannot hear my Mac. The CPU is running hard right now. And now I'm going to smooth it. Easy way to skin smooth, just do it all and then delete the area that you don't want. Erase, use the erase brush. But be careful, be careful. See how this other eye has a lot of pins? And the pin shows where you started, where you first put your mouse down. Be careful you don't click on one of those areas. Okay, you don't want that. So I'm going to see a before and after. The before is on the left and the after is on the right, and that was just with the brushes. So we smoothed out her skin a little bit. We did the tone and even, and it did tone out her skin a little bit. I brought out the catch light so that the flash isn't as noticeable, that pin light. I used the eyeliner just a tad. I used the under eye circle reduction. And the thing about under eye circles, you don't want to get rid of them. Don't get rid of them. Okay, they need to be human. I darkened up her eyebrows just a little bit. If I wanted to, I could add a little bit of color to her lips. You know, she's a young girl. I don't know if I would do that, but maybe I'll just do a little bit. Like make rosy. Now, if they're terribly chapped, I have to tell you, there's not much you can do. You can smooth that out a little bit, but that's my mask that's showing. You can smooth them out with the clarity, and that's what I'll drop that down a little bit more. But sometimes that chapped you can't get rid of. What we may try and do is with this spot removal. Okay, I know spot removal is not on target tonight, but let me get some of this area just a little bit. That's hilarious. I went way down there for that. Isn't that funny? All right. I do not think that that would match Lightroom. Okay. So now I'm going to use the tone curve just a little bit. And I'm just going to come in, I'm just going to do the medium contrast. Ooh, I like that. Strong would be too much, I think. Maybe not. So what if strong, overall, you really like it? You really like it overall, but maybe in some areas it's too strong? Well, then you can try a brush. Come in here, go up to the brush, go to where it says contrast, and reduce it a little bit, okay? Reduce the contrast just a little bit, and then brush where you may not want that extra contrast. So it's going to kind of counteract it a little bit. Again, if you like the strong contrast, but in some areas it's too much, too heavy, and it starts to make trouble, try and use an adjustment brush and reduce the contrast and brush over that area. Okay. So there, my mouse is set on fast, and sometimes it's too fast for me. I don't want that. There we go. Okay. So there's a before and after split. So you can see what we did with the eyes and the skin. And there it is. Whoops. Again, before and after. Do snapshot. And then if we wanted to, we could use some presets. So the snapshot gives me that chance to go and play with the picture, and I can always quickly get back to my clean edit. That is how it helps you, and it makes me so much faster because I don't have to worry about losing things, or I don't have to worry about making tons of virtual copies. I just keep it in with that same picture. All right, so let's do. We could try. What was I wanted? Top left. Just a sun. I knew what I wanted, and now okay. So if we want sun, just a little bit coming from the left, make this picture a little bit smaller here. That is sunshine left. Okay, and if it does, again, if one of these goes too far or causes a problem, then work with it with the graduated filter or the radial filter. So I can bring it back some. I'm holding down the shift key, clicking on one of the boxes. I'll just pull it back a little bit. And then I'll do clean plus sun. All right, so now let's talk about watermarks. I'm gonna do before and after really quick. So here we have our before and after, before on the left, after on the right. Brushes, radial filters. I wanted to actually show you, here we go. This one with the blue skies. There's a blue sky and green grass in the toolbox, and I use the green grass and blue sky a lot. And how you do it is just click on the graduated filter, go to where it says, might say custom, it might say temp, tint, might say any of these right here. Scroll down. Once you've installed it, there is blue skies, and we'll click. See, it's just a crosshair or a plus sign. Click and drag down. If you want to have it even stronger, you can just do new and do a whole nother one. But it's getting on her. And in Lightroom 6 or CC, you can go and get the brush, click on erase. You got to click on the erase one, and now we can brush it off of her. Now I did it twice, didn't I? So I'm going to need to do it on both of them. Maybe I didn't click new twice. I thought I did. Oh, there it is. I see the other pin. So I'm going to move this to the side. Move it down. And click on that one. And now I can erase for that one too. They were on top of each other. The only thing to be careful of, see, if you get too far out, you're going to end up with like a halo. So just be careful when you do it. Know where you're brushing. And if you decide, oh, that's too much, I went too far, go in, click on one of the pins, and hit delete. Okay, you can just scratch it, hit delete. What if we want to add some of the flares, things like that? You can add the ones that use the radial filter, and add that in. We can also do new, and we can do depth and drama, and start from the bottom and add some depth from here and come up. If it's too strong, turn it on its side and lower it down. There's before and after. You can tell the sky is much bluer now. All right, watermarks. So what I want to show you about watermarks is that you can have many different watermarks. And on a Mac, you're going to go up to Lightroom and edit watermarks. On a PC, you're going to go up to the edit tab and go down to watermarks. Okay, so edit watermarks, and we'll see I have a few here, not many. On my PC, which is my main editing machine, I have probably 20 different watermarks, because what I'll do is I'll do it in different fonts, and then I'll do like center, left, right. I even have it by the year. So I'll do a really basic one now for you. So I'm edit watermarks. I'm gonna come into the white box and I'm gonna highlight it. So I might delete that and start fresh. I can say copyright Amanda Paget. I might want to say Amanda Paget Photography. Or we can say copyright Pretty Presets. Now, I'm going to highlight it again because I want to change the font. And right now here, it's the very bottom corner, and don't worry about that. We're going to move it. So I'm going to come up here to the font, and any fonts that you have installed on your computer will show up here. So I'll come down, or what was I going to do? Let's see. maybe, there we go, Century Gothic, which does not come on a Mac, but that does come on a PC. I had to go get it for my Mac. So Century Gothic. So now it's changed. The font has changed. I can make it bigger by clicking and dragging it out, or I can do everything in the panels, which is what I'll do. I'm going to turn off the shadow. You can even change the color if you want, but I just keep it white, but you can change the color. And the opacity, if you want it to be kind of see-through, you can do that. Proportional, so here's where our size is going to come in. So see, I'm going to make it that. Now try fit, which will stretch it across the entire thing. Fill is not what you necessarily want because it does not work right. So do fit if you want, or if you just want to do proportional, and you can make it a little bit smaller so that for all vertical images, this is how big it would look. Opacity, we can kind of make it more see-through. All right, now we can anchor it somewhere. It's at the bottom corner, but let's say I want it to be in the middle. So now it's put it dead center in the middle, or I could do top left, top right, center. A lot of times I'll do the bottom middle, and then I'll move it up. Okay, I'll move it up with this slider. So vertical is going up. I wouldn't want to go down. This goes off the picture. But I'll move it up to about like right there. So it just gets elevated in it. It's not at the very bottom, but it's not in the middle. But if you want it in the middle, you can do that. It doesn't give you the option to mess with the positioning once it's in the center. All right. You can do your website address, www.CatherineHewittPhotography. Whatever your .com, whatever your photography address is, you could do that. So once you have it the way you want it, then come back up to custom and do save current settings as a new preset. So now I'll say, I usually name it Century till I do the font name, Century Gothic, pretty presets, bottom, middle. So I'll do the font and I'll do the positioning. Now I can do another one. I'll do there in the center, and now I'll save as a new preset. I'll do Century Gothic PP middle. Create. Now I'm going to click done here real quick, but I want to show you if you want a custom font. So maybe you had your logo designer created, you hired a logo designer and they created some special logo for you, and they used a really pretty font, and you want to be able to use that font to do some simple logos like this. Go purchase it. Once you've purchased it, then you are going to install it. It's very, very easy to install. So you go to where I have a fonts folder, and I've bought a lot of fonts. So let's say like Just the Way You Are. And this one's simple. It's just right there. And all you do is double click on it. And see at the bottom it says Install Font. So on a Mac, I just click Install Font. If you're on a PC, if you double click on it, it may just install it and that be it. I can't remember exactly how I did it on my PC. But it's very, very easy to install fonts. And once you've installed it, then it is on, it will be available in Photoshop and in Lightroom, wherever you use fonts. All right. Now, when you export, you get to choose the watermark you want to use. So I'm going to come down here, and it is the second to last option in your export menu. Once you click on watermark, just click on that menu. It has a little up and down arrow, and then go to the one you save. So I've got, let's do middle. All right, so it would be straight in the middle. And I've got all my other settings, except for, let's say it's going to go to same folder as original. We'll do web, just changing some things. All right, and then I'll export it. We can see it export graphic. doing the fonts are fine, and so you can do your special fonts. You can have it say whatever you want it to say. You can position it where you want to have it positioned. But then some people want to have a particular graphic. Well, if you have a logo and you have the PNG, then you can add that in, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. If it's not a PNG, and you should know it, let's do File. I'm going to open it up. Okay. It will have a transparent background. That PNG will have a transparent background, and that's what you need. You need it to be transparent. So here I just created a shape, a butterfly, and I can add in some text. Let's do Amanda Paget Photography. I'll make it a little bigger. Okay. My butterfly needs to be a little smaller. Actually, I'm just going to do something kind of weird. Let's make everything bigger. And I'm going to make this white. All right. So I know I'm not a graphic designer. Okay, this is not my forte. I'm going to lower the opacity down just a little bit. Okay, so here I have a layer, 2 layers, a text layer and a shape layer. I'm going to merge visible. Merge visible. If you can't find it there, go to layer and then merge visible. You don't want to flatten. Merge visible. And it doesn't matter if I didn't take up all the space. I can crop that out if I need to. That's fine. But it's merged. And now I'm going to save it. File, Save As. And I'll just do the PNG. All right. So now in Lightroom, I'll come back to Lightroom. I'm going to go to Lightroom, Edit Watermarks. And now, instead of a text, so up here at the top right corner, it says Watermark Style Text. Instead, I'm going to choose Graphic. Then it's going to prompt me to open up the graphic I want. And now I'm going to click on that temp watermark.png, hit choose. See it down here? All right. I can make it bigger with proportion, or you can click and drag out. Let's make it bigger. It's not a good watermark. I wanted you to be able to see it on here. We can make it more opaque, right? And then I would just save it. Save, let's see. Butterfly graphic bottom center. Oh, can't type. Hit create. Done. So we'll export a different picture here. We'll export this one. And File, Export. I think I hit it. Nope. File, Export. And this time I'm going to click on it. Got to change it. It can't read your mind. Butterfly graphic, bottom. All right, so see the butterfly and see Amanda Paget Photography. No, again, it was not a good logo. But you can see how you can do it. And you can position it top left, top right, bottom right, to wherever you want, and save them as watermarks. Each time you want to use it, it's there. So don't worry if you have 50 watermarks. It's okay. I mean, you won't end up with 50 watermarks. Don't worry about that. All right, so before I take any questions, I think this is important for everybody to hear. I've been very good with time, and I know that there's probably lots of stuff I could have shown still, but I've learned that I have the opportunity to show that stuff during questions as well, so I'm kind of holding off. Okay, so space. So what I'm talking about with space is when you go and look at your hard drive, and I'm going to do it on a Mac, or how you do it on a Mac is click on the apple in the top right corner, do About This Mac, and then click on Storage. All right, so we see here that out of 120 gigabytes, I only have 38.84 free. Now that is enough to run Lightroom efficiently. Where people, when I sometimes we get in tickets that their Lightroom is stalling out. Some people even can't get their brushes to show up, even though they're installed. When they move into the picture, it's a crosshair. They can't get it to work. And I'll ask to look at their hard drive and let's see how much space they have left. And they have like 5% of their hard drive free. And I tell them, you have got to give Lightroom more space to operate. It can't do that. And I don't know where I read it somewhere, but they recommend 20%. And I will tell you from experience, when this machine gets bogged down with a lot of stuff on it, storage-wise, my Lightroom does not run as fast, and I'm with my little rainbow wheel constantly. So on a PC, you can check your, just click on your C drive, and you might click on like properties or double click on it. See, I can't remember how on my PC. I'm going to have to investigate. I haven't looked at it in a while. And you can see how much you have free. So how do you clean up your hard drive? Well, move some stuff to an external, not stuff you need every day. Stuff you need every day, keep on your hard drive. But pictures from 6 months ago, 3 months ago, a year ago, move those to a external hard drive. And how you can do that in Lightroom, we'll go back to the library, and if you go to the folders, okay, the folders, so there we're going to see my Macintosh hard drive, and we're going to see my Seagate. And if I want to move pictures over, if you're seeing question marks, because I moved pictures not through Lightroom. So while Lightroom was closed, I went into my Windows or my Mac Finder and I moved stuff. And it happens, I do it, I flake out sometimes still. And so they used to be there, and now Lightroom can't find them. So I have the question mark. So anyway, so let's say I want to move pictures. So let's say I want to move start to finish to my Seagate. And I'm not going to worry about what year it is. I'm just going to say, okay, I'm done with this one. I don't need any more. I'm going to take it to my hard drive. I just click on it, drag to where I want it to go. And Lightroom will move them for you. And now Lightroom still knows where they are. Because remember, your library, your catalog is just a virtual shortcut. You're letting Lightroom know that these pictures exist and where to find them. And if you move pictures outside of Lightroom, they don't know where they are anymore. And I'm not fussing at people. I really am not. And I'm not pointing fingers. And I do want to say that I had numerous occasions people will say, Lightroom lost my pictures. And I'm like, no, Lightroom did not lose your pictures. You lost your pictures. You must have moved your pictures not using Lightroom. You did it via the Windows Explorer or Mac Finder, and Lightroom doesn't know where they are. It does not know you did it, doesn't know where you put them. You did that. Lightroom's not going to just arbitrarily move stuff and then not know where it did it. It does not have a mind of its own. All right, everything that happens, you are doing. You are the user. A lot of times the problems are user error. I love Lightroom users, but it is user error. Okay, so move stuff to your external hard drive. Call down, do you really need all that stuff? Look at your apps. Do you really need all those apps? I got rid of, so what I did was I looked at, I know this is not, but this is very important for your Lightroom to run efficiently. So that's why I'm doing this. Look at your applications. Do you really need all these things? I got rid of some applications I hadn't used in 2 years. Why am I hanging on to them? So I uninstalled them. Or, on a Mac, you can just hit throw them to the trash can. Empty your trash can. I bet, some people have tons of stuff in their trash that they have not emptied. Empty your trash can. Now, do that. See how much it frees up on your hard drive. Mac users, this is specific to Mac. Or actually, on a PC, you can also do something. It's called something different there. I can't remember what it's exactly called. All right, last little tidbit. You are going to want to run the disk utility. Okay, disk utility. Click on your hard drive, do verify disk permissions, then repair disk permissions. That can help free up some space, get things running more smoothly. You might clear your history on your browser. Maybe get rid of browsers you don't use. Google Chrome, which I'd love to get rid of, it's taking up 300 megabytes of space on my hard drive. I'm not happy about that. But I have to have it because I can't, in one of my emails, I can't attach files in Safari, so I have to use Google. Anyway, Chrome. And then run updates. Make sure you're up to date on all of your software, things like that, and restart your computer and see if that doesn't free up some of your space. Lightroom needs 20% of your hard drive to run efficiently and effectively. Okay, so let's take some questions. This was kind of a technical day, wasn't it? All right. Looks like several of you had audio problems, but for the most part, people could hear me. I'm sorry if you did. What is the difference between the brush for this example and the dodge tool? Are you talking about like when I use the eyeliner, Melissa? Dodge in Photoshop does darken things. You're right. The dodge tool does darken. So they're very similar. Where do you usually keep your feather and flow at? I usually keep my feather at 100% because for the most part, it's going to be, I'm going to be using 100%. When the times I want my feather to be smaller are fewer and far between. So I usually keep the feather at 100. The flow is anywhere from like, I don't know, 70 to 80. Sometimes as I get to know the brush, like I use the brushes so much, I know which ones are fairly strong. And so I'll know to go ahead and reduce the flow. And some people, like some children have perfectly smooth skin, so I'm not going to smooth very much. And I'll know to go ahead and reduce the flow. Some skins I might need to smooth a little bit more, so I'm going to increase the flow. But for the most part, between 70 and 80. And I keep my density up. I didn't talk about density. Let me show this really quickly. And I'll do something we'll do something really dark. Okay. So if my flow is down to say 50%, and I need this to be off. And it would help if my feather, let's delete that. Okay, so I have a very dark brush and the flow is at 52%. So I just click and swipe down. But now if I click and swipe down again, it's going to keep getting darker. See how it's getting darker and darker, darker and darker? So it was cumulative. So I'm going to do new. And let's do and reduce down. I increase the flow. Now I'm going to reduce the density. All right. No matter how much I brush over it, it's staying at that 50%. So density is like you think about like a faucet. It's going to reduce the flow, permanently. Whereas the flow, well, it's kind of like if you just put your hand over it for a little bit, or if you put your thumb in the nozzle of a hose outside, you can reduce it and then let it up and reduce it. Whereas that density is almost at the main water line, like they're cutting it down and restricting it. Hope that makes sense. Okay. Let's do another question. When editing skin tones, when the R, red, is too low, not close to 200, what do you do to improve it? Well, Christina, that's a great question, and it's a little more advanced for this session, but I will address it and hope I don't lose people too much. And that's in Photoshop pretty much, those 200s. The Lightroom shows a percentage. So generally, your with skin tones, let's look right here. So if I hover over, let me just get out of the brushes. If I hover over the skin area and we look just below the histogram while my mouse is in the picture. So right now we're seeing the EXIF data. As my mouse moves in, we're going to see some color values there. And so we see R 70.7, G 64.2, B 63.6. Now that's a percentage. If we were looking at this in Photoshop, if I went to soft proofing, then I could see those true values. Reds typically are in the 200s for Caucasian. So if you have somebody who is darker complected, say an African American, then that red is going to be much, much lower. Okay, so as things brighten up, the values get higher. As they darken, they get lower. So if your person, your subject, is Caucasian and fair, and that value is not in the 200s, it may mean that your picture is underexposed, and you just need to brighten it up. Okay, so let's look at what happens if I just increase the exposure. Whoops, too much. She's very fair, but we see that my red value went up, didn't it? Let me reset. Oh no, that's not what I wanted to do. This is what I wanted to be on. Okay. So before it was in the 70s. And then when I increased it, it went into the 80s. So as you brighten up a picture, those values are going to go up. Now for her, the picture is a little cool, and I knew that before with that other one. And you could just warm it up by clicking and moving that temp slider just a little bit to the right and warming it up just a little bit. We might increase it just a little bit. Okay, good question though. What does the clarity brush do? So clarity is going to define areas of contrast. So it's going to define areas where light and dark come together. It's not that it's increasing contrast, it's like defining those pixels a little more. It's almost like sharpening, but not exactly like it. But it's just going to, so if you think about, the word clarification, you're going to make things clearer, right? Make more sense of it, make it more obvious. You're going to, so just think back to clarification or to clarify. That clarity is going to do that same thing. It's going to help define those areas a little bit more. When working with eyes, is it the same process with those who wear glasses? Definitely. Now, I will tell you this, there is absolutely no way to get rid of, so if you're taking pictures and somebody has glasses on and you get a big reflection, you can't hardly see the eye behind it, you will not be able to fix that in Lightroom. You're going to have to take that picture to Photoshop. If you see tutorials on how to fix that in Lightroom, go look at the tutorial, and I promise you what they're doing is they're starting in Lightroom and then they're going to Photoshop. Okay, Lightroom is not there yet. It cannot fix that. Now, if there's no glare, no reflection, then you can see straight through to the eyes, then yeah, perfectly the same. I mean, exactly the same. What are catch lights? So catch lights are, let me zoom into her. Catch lights are the reflection in the eyes, and a lot of times you can see the landscape in front of somebody being reflected back to you like a mirror. And here, there's a flash being fired, and we can see it. That means definitely a flash. We have the pin light, but because it was more of a fill flash, we're still getting a reflection from what is behind the photographer in the distance. Let me look at another picture here. So see the catch lights in her eyes? Oh, come on. There we go. So we're seeing reflection in the distance, like the sunset, probably, off behind her. If you use a reflector, you can often see the person with the reflector in the eyes. I love that. If you're taking a picture and you're looking and you realize your subject has dead eyes, meaning there's no reflection coming back. They're just dead. There's no catch lights at all. Get something white. Get a piece of paper. Put on a white shirt. Move them near a vehicle. I mean, something. I've even gotten my truck had gotten serviced, and there was a white, like the mechanic shop's little floor mat in the back of my truck still, where I'd taken it out from my driver floorboard and put it to the back. And we were out doing just a photo walk, and I realized, man, the sun's getting really low, and the subject's eyes were just dead. I said, wait a minute, I got this thing. So I went and I pulled it out and I held it up like a reflector, and it made all the difference in her eyes. So you want those catch lights. You want some type of reflection in the eyes. Okay. Any tips for how we can tell if we've sharpened too much? I never know how much is too much. That is a great question, and we'll see if we can't push something to the edge here and get an example of too much. So, and I will tell you this, a lot of people will phase on out of these sessions because I don't know, they get bored or they got something else to do or they think I already know all this. Well, at the end is often where we get into some nitty-gritty stuff and share some stuff that are the quick tips that we can't often make a whole session out of, but we can add in here and there. So those who are sticking with us, thank you, and here you're going to learn some new little things. Okay, so I'm going to go to the detail section panel, and we're going to look at the sharpening. And here you can see this picture here. You can move it if you want to look maybe at what it'll do to the eye. So we can move this up. Now look what happened. Can you tell it's very, almost like a pattern. It's really defining all of her skin, isn't it? It's way too much. And 1 minute, please. 1 minute. I'm going to close the door. Somebody just came in. Oh, sorry. I'm at my husband's office, and usually nobody's here. Okay. So it's really affecting the skin, isn't it? But what we can do is we can mask that out and hide the sharpening in that area, or not have it applied to that area. And we do that with masking. And if you hold down your Alt key on a PC or Option key on a Mac, so I'm holding that key down, then I'm going to click the masking. So now our image is white. And as I move to the right, everything that is black is what the sharpening will not show on, or it will not apply to, or it will be hidden, it will be masked. All right, so now we are going to hide that area of the skin, and it's only going to apply to the white area. And those are those areas of contrast where we have a definition of light pixels suddenly up against darker pixels. So now if we look in, all this is smooth, and only as you get near the eyelashes does it get more defined, right? As you can see that we get some of that patterned area again. Now we can always back it down, but that is what you want to watch for. You want to make sure that when you apply sharpening, number one, that you mask it so it's not applying to the skin, and number two, that it does not, you've not gone so far that you're accentuating every little pixel and bringing out flaws or problems, and you don't want it to look kind of crunchy. So we'll even take it further maybe. Now because of the masking, we can't tell it as well here. But can you see around the eyes how it's kind of, we still that paisley look? And if I take the masking down, see all that? And now plus, this skin smoothing brush was right here, but I didn't smooth the skin, did I? So we're seeing more of an effect right here because it didn't have that skin smoothing applied to it. But if I bring this up, bring down the amount doesn't need to be that high, it really doesn't. You can also spot sharpen, so we could just sharpen her eyes if that's what we really want to be the focus and make sure that those are crisp and clear. So we have this sharpening, and then you have sharpening on export. Now I'm going to, let's just do this we'll do web. So a web resolution would be 72, and we're going to do 1800, and screen amount, let's do high. Okay. Actually, I may keep it so it's a little bit smaller. All right. Okay. I'm going to export it. Let's just override it. That's fine. When you're exporting, when you're sharpening for the web, you don't want it to sharpen so much that the hair gets crunchy looking and like straw, or it's sometimes greasy looking. Like you don't want that. A lot of times food bloggers will over sharpen their pictures and their food will glisten. If your food is glistening and it really shouldn't be, you've over sharpened it. So let's see. So here, it does not look too big. I mean, too much. So the high here would be okay. The only thing is right here, this hair looks a little. That's that crunchiness I'm talking about right here. But the rest of it wasn't affected. A lot of times you'll notice over sharpening on people in hair. Their hair just doesn't handle it well. I want to give you another tip. If your picture's out of focus, it's out of focus. If you think, oh, I'm just going to add tons of sharpening and it's going to fix it, it's not going to fix it. There are times when the eyes are a little soft. By soft, I mean they're just a little out of focus. We can define the outer edge of the eye. We can add, intensify the catch lights. We can, add a little clarity, and that will often mask an image that's soft. But if it is out of focus, it's out of focus, and that's just the way it is. I recommend printing small in that case. All right. Oh, for print. So what you want when you're sharpening for print, I do the sharpening in there, and then I do matte medium sharpening. And when you look at it on your computer, if you look at it and you think, gosh, that might be too sharp, that's almost too sharp, then it's probably good for printing. Okay, that's good for print. But too sharp, if it looks too sharp and you're doing it for the web, then it's too sharp. Like it's going to get a crunchy look to it. But when you're doing it for print, that crunchiness doesn't come through once it's on paper. Let's see. How do you go back and re-edit your brushes? Great question. I love that. So let's say you've edited and you're like, oh, I need to change something. So activate your brush tool and then move into it. Make sure your pins are showing up. If they're not showing up, come down to where it says show pins and do auto or always. And now, so click on it. There we go. All I do is click on the pin I want to do. Now, if I've got them here right at the eye, sometimes I have to click and see which one was what. Oh, okay. That was me fixing the red cast on her eyes. And let's see, I gotta move in. Zoom in, you'll separate a little bit. And then this one, whoops, was the under eye circle. And that was the catch lights. So you just click on it and you come over and then you can reduce. If you just want to do it once and for all, you can turn the little triangle on its side and click and move the slider right or left. Or you can come in and say, okay, I like everything about it except for it's just a little too bright, and then reduce the exposure, or it's just a little bit too warm. So let's reduce the temp. And that's how you can do that. How do you get the preview to the right top when you hover over the presets? All right, Kristen, good question. And she's talking about over here. And that's the navigator panel. So if your navigator is not opened up, so if it says navigator and you've got a triangle on its side, then just click the triangle and it will show up right here. Now, if you have somehow come over and you have a group selected, a group of, these, then when you come over and hover, oops, come on, then it's going to show on the first one that you clicked on. Hope that makes sense. So again, you just click on Navigator, and if you're zooming, your Command plus, Command minus doesn't want to cooperate for you, which sometimes that happens, and it's very frustrating. You can click right here in the Navigator, and you can say, okay, I want 2:1. I want 4:1, which is really zoomed in. If you want to put it back out, make it much smaller. You can also zoom in down here with this zoom slider. If you don't see the zoom slider, click on the little triangle in this toolbar and then click on zoom. All right, let's see. Does Fix Cast Red come in the bundle? It's in the Perfect Portrait. It's in the Perfect Portrait bundle. I use the Fix Reds cast for redness under the eyes, cast come from clothes. I fix the Fix Greens anytime you have reflection from the grass, greenness on the skin, that helps. That's in the Perfect Portrait. How do you bring up the before and after? A very, very quick way is Y. Y on your keyboard. Okay, so I'm just click. Oh, all right. Come on now. Y, just click the Y tab on your keyboard. And then to go back to after, Y again. Hide your sidebars, the tab key. Oh, what do I do with those snapshots? Great question. Well, you know what? I kind of left that hanging for y'all, didn't I? And I apologize. So the question was, what do I do with the snapshots? And here, sometimes I use it when I decide. I like to compare a lot. Like, okay, do I like just the clean edit better? Do I like this with the sun better? Do I like this other one with the preset better? So maybe I'll do one more. I'll go back to this one, and then maybe I use. Let's see. Make it matte. I'm gonna do make it matte. Now I'm gonna tell you about the matte presets. I love them, but you may, if they make them too dark, if they're too dark for your image, just go ahead and apply it and then brighten up a little bit. So I'm gonna do clean and bright. And if I decide, hey, I want it to be a little brighter, come into basic, just brighten it up a little bit. That's all I have to do. Okay, don't not use the preset because it makes it so dark. Go ahead and use it and just brighten it up a little bit. So here I might say, okay, that's clean and bright. Do another one, clean and bright matte. So now what I can do is compare. I can say, okay, this is just the clean edit. This is clean with matte. And this is clean with the sun, flare left. And I might say, well, I'm going to go with the matte and say that's what I want to do. Okay, then I can export straight from there. The nice thing about these snapshots is that I could then later say, I love all three, and I'm going to let the customer decide. So now I can create a virtual copy and watch what happens when I create 3 virtual copies. Okay, we have 3 virtual copies. A virtual copy is only in Lightroom. It doesn't make a new picture on your hard drive or anything. And you can see that it's virtual. It's got a little corner turned up. But the snapshots come along with it. So now I can say, okay, my original, I'm going to have the clean. The second one will have the matte. And the third one will have the sun flare. And then I can highlight all three at once and export. But I like to go ahead and do all my options with the snapshot. And again, it's that moment in time that I might decide to go back to. It just keeps that option open for me, and it's so easy. Instead of me trying to go through my history, like so if I'm looking at the history on this one, I'd have to say, oh, I want to go back to where I applied that preset. Where was that? I can't believe I did not make a snapshot. You know, that is what happens. So I'll do a snapshot to capture that moment in time.